Evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I'll try to get this thing adjusted so that it looks right. There we go. Uh, hey, it's a whole new week, right? And as you saw from the thumbnail, a lot going on. A lot that is, quite frankly, a little surprising about what the status is of Patrick Mahomes. And I think that it's real important to understand that this is a fluid situation. So, I hope you guys are all doing good. We're going to talk a lot about Pat Mahomes tonight. See a lot of friendly faces in there. I'm going to try to break that out, actually. Aaron, Curtis, I see you guys. Gary, I see you're here. That's great. Metal Rocker, thank you. Stevie, I see you guys too. Let me get over here and break out this chat so I can actually read it. Running a little bit late tonight. I do need to announce that I'm not going to have a Monday Night Live next week. It's just going to be too tough. I'm going to be on the road. I'm going to be on vacation. I'll be on a beach somewhere. So not going to be something that I'm going to pull off. And it certainly wouldn't look any better than what you see right now. So, Aaron, it happens. What are you going to do, right? Big family trip. Bunch of extended family. We're going down to the beaches. So it should be fun. You will see my Chiefs hat in Barbados somewhere. So I'll make sure to post something, and I will post as much as I can while I'm gone. It'll probably just be pre-recorded live videos, basically, because I'll just have the phone and won't be able to do the Q&A part. But I will give you reaction from the games. So that said, that part will be normal. Cheers to you guys. Thanks for hanging in. Tonight's a Belgian pale ale of my own design. So let's see here. A lot of questions today. Really picked up where they left off overall from the game. And I was there, for those who didn't see my immediate post game, was really taken about how well everybody rallied around the fact that the Mahomes went out. That's not something that's easily recoverable from. Cheers to Matt Moore for his play. This is what you sign a veteran for, so that should something go wrong, you can get this kind of performance from him. And that's why I don't think they're going to bring anybody else in, from outside the organization. I do think they're going to raise Kyle Shermer up to the full squad, but I don't see them. They're not going to trade for anybody. They're not going to waste any draft picks or anything like that. And I don't see them trying to sign anybody that's out there that's really nobody worth going to get. So ride with who you got. Matt Moore will start. Shermer will be the backup for the most part. The interesting part will come is if Mahomes is going to be out, 3 weeks, maybe post-bye, then it becomes, hey, Henny should be able to be back. Is it Henny or Moore or whatever? I still feel like Moore is going to be the guy that you go with just because he's been in there and he's been under fire. So that's what I would say. Now, I see you guys starting to ask questions. Just hold off a little bit, and I'll get back to all of these, I promise. Just want to go over what we found out about Pat this news cycle today as they came back to Arrowhead. They've been back for a couple of days. Pat's been there all weekend. Was rehabbing. We heard from Rick Burkholder that he rehabbed all weekend long. And that's nice to see. The guys earned a mini bye week, and yet Pat Mahomes was still in there trying to get better, trying to get back as fast as he can. That's a real positive thing. I don't know the extent of it. Obviously, I'm not a medical professional. I am a close associate. I'm a strength conditioning. Those of you that don't know, I'm a former strength and conditioning coach, exercise physiologist. That's where my background comes from. There are things that you can do. Developing the musculature around the knee will help stabilize it. And the kneecap isn't a destabilizing injury. That's what the MRI showed on Friday, that all the regular knee ligaments are intact, so his knee is stable. That should be fine. But you can have re-injury. You can have a floating kneecap, but if it's not attached by the ligament structures that connect it to both the tibia and the femur, and that can be problematic. That's what usually requires surgery. We found out today that surgery is an option, but isn't necessarily a requirement, and that they're calling him week to week, and that Andy Reid wouldn't even rule him out for Green Bay. Let me tell you, I don't think he's going to play against Green Bay. That seems just too quickly to turn around after 10 days and try to get back out there. I don't think that's good for him either. Oh, hey, Dean, 3121. I like that. That's awesome. I just don't think that that's practical in terms of limiting risk to Pat Mahomes. So I do feel that he's going to miss Green Bay, which sucks because this is the game that I was most looking forward to seeing the quarterbacks do what they do against their opposing defenses and see how they had to go back and forth. Because I do put Pat Mahomes up there with Aaron Rodgers, with Tom Brady. And so any head-to-head action on that, that's what I'm looking for. But that said, I feel like it is something you got to be a little bit more cautious with. Yes, he's a resilient guy. That's why he's on the thumbnail for this video. Just the fact that he was able to walk off, I told you then that was my reaction. I didn't think it was terrible just by that, but that can be misleading. People have walked around on torn ACLs, and you never know. So the second opinion being even better and him beginning rehab already, that's a good sign. It will be up to him and how he feels. I think the doctors will find if there's no permanent damage, and that if those ligaments are all intact, like it sounds like they are, it's about strengthening the musculature around the knee and making sure you don't have any laxity so that it's not, the cap isn't sloshing around. But you have a way to fix that too. He's going to wear a brace. I've never seen a dislocated knee where the player did not come back with a brace. It's nearly impossible. So expect that. And that will actually help mechanically guard against the kneecap shifting again. So that's something important. I think you could push it, and he could play against Minnesota. That's my feeling right now from everything that I've heard. And obviously I don't have any inside information inside of his medical records, but I'm just saying the way that it sounds like now, that's what I would be looking for. I would not be looking for Green Bay. And only would I be really looking for Minnesota if you're worried. We'll see what happens this week. It's going to be tough to beat the Packers without Mahomes, and that may play into the decision some. So that's where they are there. Another note, Kendall Fuller had surgery as well, broke that thumb again. Not sure what the surgery consisted of. I could see them putting a pin in it just because it's a second recurrence. I believe it was a wrist the first time, so it's not the same bone most likely. But it is the same area. And we've seen him play with a club before. If it's hard casted like that, it will be wrapped up like a club. If they can get away with just a partial that just covers from the wrist to the thumb, if the bone break is in here somewhere and they pinned it, you might just be able to get away with a half cast, a band around here that circles the thumb. We'll know when he gets back out on the field. We'll be able to see that pretty easily. In the meantime, I see questions about Fenton, so we'll jump into the questions here because Fenton's standing in for him. So Anthony Villa, I don't think he plays, so there, got yours. Ian Connis, how about Fenton? I thought Fenton played well overall. It's hard to tell because Emmanuel Sanders was not full strength. He saw a lot of Sanders. I didn't pull the PFF numbers yet about who the matchups were in terms of reps, but from my eye, watching game flow, it was a lot of Sanders. And he got beaten a couple of times, not a big deal. I think what I took away from that is that that's a pretty solid test. If Sanders had been full speed, I would say, hey, 100% he's good to go. But he allowed some separation a couple of times. The interesting thing about Fenton is he displayed more catch-up speed, more recovery speed than I expected against the Broncos. I expected him to get run away from more, and he did not. So that's a really positive sign, Ian. And I think that he's going to be okay. They will find ways to pick on him. They'll run picks. They're going to run stacks against him. They're going to make him banjo and try to make sure that he can communicate. That's going to be a test as well. Especially Aaron Rodgers. If he thinks you're weak in some way, he's going to press that. So that's my expectation for this coming week. It doesn't sound from anything that we don't know whether Fuller's going to play or not. So expect Fenton. Maybe you get Fuller too. You just got to be happy with that. So Casey K69, I don't want to give up a whole lot of draft capital unless it's for Peterson. Who would you get for maybe a second that could help the defense? That's a tough one. There really isn't anyone. You're not going to trade for a serious linebacker. You're not going to trade for a rush end for anything less than that. a second-round pick, you might be able to get a good guard, but I have to say I'm really encouraged by Wisniewski. So I'm not advocating that either. For me, it's all in on Pat Peterson. He's the one guy that can help you shut down half a side of your pass defense and allow you to rotate the other guys. And I like what Mo's been doing. Breland and Fuller getting caught with a lot of holding. They do a lot of holding. That's just the way they play. They're going to get caught with it. I think Ward's coming along. I think he's still a little susceptible in zone, but I think his man is stepping up. I think he's getting better at not overpowering so that he gets called PI or holding, but he's doing a pretty good job. So again, it helps with the rotation. So I would concentrate a first and a fourth, a first and a third on Peterson. If you have to come up to a second, man, I could do 2 seconds. I don't know that I'd give a first and a second. That's just steep. That's crazy. But I think a first and a third would get it done for Peterson. If it's going to happen at all. The Cardinals may not just ever want to part with him, period. They just may be stubborn and don't want to give him up. So, and I can understand that too. He's a piece you can build around, even though he isn't at advanced age. So we'll see what happens. Ian, again, should the Chiefs be trading for Xavier Howard? I don't think they're going to give him up. I think they still feel like he's a guy on the defense they want to build around. He still sounds like he wants to be there. I haven't heard him say anything specific about, I'm ready to go. So, and I think if you have to spend the capital to pry a player away from another team, I'd rather do it with Peterson. That's my personal opinion. Okay. Aaron Morrow, when are we going to sign Jones? If they do, it'll be in the offseason. They're going to not do anything yet. I think they might be looking to carry over that cap space. You might see a franchise tag. I was a little bit more 50-50 when the season began, but as it goes on, you don't see him taking a leadership role. Now, it's tough when he's hurt now, but when you're paying your leaders in Matthew and Frank Clark that much, it's hard to put that kind of money back into another DT. So I'm seeing a franchise tag if they sign him, and then we might see a tag and trade. We'll see. I don't think that's terribly likely. It doesn't really happen that often, but it seems like it's happening more often lately in the last 2 seasons than before. So it's a possibility. Good question, Aaron. Caleb London, should Armani Watts and Fenton receive more defensive snaps? Fenton's going to have to. Armani Watts, I don't think so. I think they like what they see in Lucas, and I'm fine with that. It needs to be Thornhill, Matthew, and Sorensen. They're their best 3. There's no reason to push to get Armani Watts snaps. It just isn't happening. Let him continue to learn. When he's called upon, when somebody gets hurt, and there will always be an injury. Sometime he will get to the point where he has to play. When he does, I expect him to do well. I'm not bashful about that. I think he'll be fine. Let's see. Jorge, do you think KC makes a move before the trade deadline? I think they're going to try. I think they're pushing. I don't know if it's going to happen. Scott Meza, the Eagles release Skandrick. If he's not hurt, should Veach sign him back? No, he can't help you. He's not better than the 4 guys they got out there now. Let's see. Ian, how would you rate the rookie class so far this season? I'd give him a B. Before Colin Saunders had to start playing, I would have given him a C because it was only the 2 guys. Don't see much else out of this class. But I like what we've seen from Saunders so far. I think that's really encouraging, and I think he's going to continue to get better. Very encouraged about him against the run specifically, and I'll try to pull some of those plays out. If they ever get the all-22 up, I expected it to be up by now. It's not. Evidently, a couple users have gotten to it. I think Nick Jacobs has. I can't get to it yet. I'm still locked out. It still says it's not available, so I don't know what's going on. When I get to it, I'll try to pull some of that out too. Excuse me. Mike, oh, wait, no. Stevie Keys, how are you? Oh, thanks for your donation, Stevie. Appreciate it. And folks, if you want a super chat or super sticker, feel free. All that goes into lights and everything else for the channel, and I very much am thankful for it. Stevie asks, how much defensive results were because of the change of defensive game plan, and how much were just being more talented team? There is an aspect of being more talented. That offensive line is struggling, but you got to remember, you're talking about Derek Nottie, a second-year player, and Colin Saunders inside, a rookie. So that evens some of that out. I think the bulk of it, I would say 80% of what you saw against the Denver Broncos was the fact that they were more aggressive. And whether it was scheme or whether it was just everyone attacking and finally getting fed up of getting your butt kicked in the run, I think that made the difference. And I mean, you guys have heard me talk about Reggie. I think Reggie made an impact, and not just on the touchdown. Reggie attacking the line of scrimmage made a difference. If you're going to go meet a running back, go meet them in the hole or beyond the line of scrimmage. Don't wait. And I think that's what I really saw as a big difference. Whether they can maintain that or not, I don't know. And I don't know that this means that they're going to play more base defense. If it were me, I would come out every game in base with 3 linebackers, including Reggie, and I would play first and second down that way, and then go to your nickel setup. I think they played pretty well on third down last week. That was pretty impressive, especially when you had Lee out there. You had a couple of snaps, but a lot of Neiman. Neiman and Hitch I saw a lot. I think that's a good setup. I think Lee can get back on the field if it's in the nickel, and I have no problem with them taking Reggie out in the nickel. Okay, Reggie's decent against the pass. I think people underrate him. I've tried to show where he can be good against the pass, but he's definitely better against the run. So if you use Reggie on first and second down and you get him into a third and long, I have no problem with them taking him out and putting Neiman in or putting Lee in. You might even see them use Neiman and Lee together, so that you're truly platooning your 3 power backers and your 2 nickel backers. I have no problem with that either. It will get them in some situations where the teams will try to switch it up on them and attack their weaknesses. But hey, until they make you do it, I say give it a shot. I would like to see them maintain this downhill aggression because I think that's the key to help them. Great question, Stevie. Mike Howell, how much different will the offense be with Moore? That's the great thing. Andy mentioned it Friday night. He reiterated it on Monday that's the big thing that he likes so much about Moore, and the fact that they signed a veteran because of it, because he didn't have to change much. Now, he doesn't have the same arm. That's clear. But, I mean, he threw a pass at 35 yards in the air. That's better than what we saw out of Alex Smith most of the time. And Alex never really let it loose. He could do that too. But I think you're going to see that the offense doesn't necessarily have to change. You're not going to see the big hitting bombs. It's going to have to be more yards after the catch. But those underneath crossers, they get loose. You saw that's what it turned into, the under crosser, and he turned it up like a wheel. You can do that all day long. You can run crossers with Mecole Hardman. You can run deep crossers with Kelsey. All that's completely on the table. The screen game still on the table. It's just the super long bombs that you can't do with Moore. Everything else is free game. And I think that's because he's got so much experience. He's read so many defenses. He knows how to do that. It's a comfort thing of being a veteran and understanding the offense. Once you know the calls, you know what you're looking for. That experience pays off well more than anything else. So I think that's really the difference. I hope that they stay aggressive and they don't get too passive with it. But you might see more jet sweeps. You might see some more things behind the line of scrimmage. I've been talking about that for a couple of weeks. I think that's there for the taking. And maybe that helps Matt Moore a little bit more than you needed to help Pat Mahomes. That makes sense. Let's see. KCK, how's Breland Speaks doing? No answer. He's on IR, so he's in the wind. Nobody sees him. Nobody hears from him. Only the team knows. Mike Hall. Can the defense continue to play aggressive like this, or is it just a one-time effort? I think that's really the key question. Do they come to play like they did Thursday? I think they're going to get opportunities. I think Spags is figuring out that having Reggie on the field helps the other linebackers. It helps the line. It helps everybody be aggressive in early downs. So I think, like I said, you got to get him out there. I think he helps set the tone, and it's just a comfort level of knowing he knows where he's supposed to be. I like him at the Sam. I actually thought he'd play middle, but they didn't. So more power to him. Whatever works. And I think the more they find out what works, the better they're going to perform. Let's see. Ian Connis. Should Chiefs try to play aggressive against Green Bay? That's the big question. Controlled aggression is what I would submit is the way that you have to attack Aaron Rodgers. I talked to Matt Derrick today. He'll be on the podcast here. It should be out here in the next couple of minutes. So make sure you check that out too. But the big thing for me is that Matt thinks he's not quite as mobile as he used to. He's probably right there. I don't think that part matters. I think it's his sharpness. He's still got the arm. It's a half tick below Mahomes. So it's still there. And I think more importantly is he can pick defenses apart. So for me, it comes back to not necessarily do you attack him, it's how you attack him. And it has to be, we saw 5 pass rush snaps from Tyrann Mathieu last week. We saw 1 from Thornhill, 1 from Ward, I believe was the other DB. So DB's rushed on 7 snaps, blitzing. That's important. I want to see A-gap blitzes. I want to see those backers coming. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the nickel or the base. It doesn't matter to me. Get somebody in the A-gaps because that's what you have to do to get to Rodgers. Now, that line's pretty solid. He will flush the pocket, and he's still pretty good on the move. But I will say this. Alex Okafor covers a lot of ground. Frank covers a good amount of ground, too. So when he does break contain, I feel like they can at least catch up and give some pressure. But it's got to be a complete effort because when that does happen, you have to have your D-backs in position. I think if that goes on, though, I think it puts Juan Thornhill in a position where he may be able to take advantage. I think Thornhill's coming along with his vision, with his understanding of where to be. He almost got another pick against Denver. Didn't quite come true, but it's close. And if Rodgers is flushed and tries to make something happen, that's a position that I think Juan Thornhill can take advantage of. Good question. Maximo, thanks for yours, 101. Come back with a question, bud. Kenneth, do you think that the turnout defense had more to do with Ragland being in, things clicking, or more Denver being crappy? Well, hey, it's a mixture. Like I said, I think Ragland's a catalyst there, but I think the base thing is about the defense being aggressive. That's what they have to do. That all leads to things clicking more. So that's kind of the way that it works. One thing goes down, something else has to step up. That's how I see it. Gary Holland, how does the Chiefs cut down on the penalties? It's just discipline. Honestly, on the offensive side, it's about moving your feet. That's where I feel the offensive line's lacking a little bit. Ryder in particular. I will not be surprised if Steve Wisniewski is in there at center in the next few weeks. We saw him take a few snaps at guard, and I thought he played great, showed his veteran savvy too. He's not the strongest guy, he's not the fastest guy, but he knows how to move his feet, and he knows how to get in position to get those angles. And I feel right now like it's better to have Wiz in there at center than at guard because I feel like Rankins is doing okay. And if you had to, when Fisher comes back, you could put Cam Irving in there. Irving, Rankin, whatever works. But I think Wiz is an upgrade at center over Ryder. That's what I would do. Nothing against Austin. I think he made a comeback game. But that's what I would do. Adrian Long. Loved your aggressiveness. Loved our aggressiveness. Do you think it's because they were playing Denver? Yeah. I mean, it is easier when the offense is a little bit more one-dimensional like Denver's. You can tee back a little bit more. But I really feel it was more about their play than about their opponent. Metal Rocker. How impressed were you of Okafor and Agba against Denver? Very much so. I think they're both coming along and they're filling their gaps. Like I said, Okafor's best total ever in his career was 8 sacks. I think he's going to break that this year. I think he's well on his way. Agba's really surprising me as well. And I think as a unit, as a group that kind of shuffles in and out, I think they're doing well. And I think Tano Passanio actually played well inside a tackle as well. So it's a good rotation. Certainly won't be hurt when Chris Jones gets back. But with your 2 fire plugs in the middle and then being able to bring in some designated pass rush, I think that's a good way to do it. It's about not getting caught with your pants down when they zig, when you zag. That's really where it comes down to for me. Nathan Roth, did Ragland finally earn a starting spot? I don't know. Rags has been reluctant. Spags has been reluctant about Ragland. I think it also has to do with the matchup. The Broncos are a running team. The Vikings are a running team. I expect Reggie Ragland to start against the Vikings. Let me put it that way. I don't know about Green Bay. Green Bay's going to run out a lot of 11. It depends on their wide receiver group and who's healthy. I know they had a couple of guys out. I think Scantling was out. I can't remember who else. And that's why you saw Jimmy Graham take a step up. And Jimmy Graham can still run. Reggie can't run with him. That's a mismatch, I would say, where Reggie takes the lower end of it. But I don't think Damon Wilson can cover him either. So now you're talking about going back to the nickel where you have a safety in there is my guess. But when it comes back to the Vikings, then I think that's a spot where you want 3 linebackers starting. Reggie will start again, and I think they're going to look to be aggressive. If you got to hit Dalvin Cook early and hit him off and to slow him down. That's key, and they want to run on you. I think they're going to take a similar concept that if you stop Dalvin Cook and you take your chances with Kirk Cousins beating you over the top, so be it. Whatever you get, you get. I think that'll be their plan. Gary Holland, can the Chiefs beat either of these teams? They can definitely beat the Vikings, especially if Mahomes is back. Without Mahomes, it's a very tall order to beat the Packers. They're playing well. Their defense is better than you expect. That without that offensive firepower from Mahomes, it's going to be tough. But it can be done. I won't count anybody out. I haven't decided what I'm going to predict for them yet. I still have to look at some things, but I'd say it's an uphill battle. It's still likely a loss. It's one of the losses I gave them to begin the season, so I'm not terribly worried about it, to tell you the truth. But it is possible they could win too. Arrowhead and you guys make a big difference, so keep that in mind as well. Scott Mesa, your thoughts on how the defense stops Rodgers? Like I said, I would attack him from different angles. Use the DBs to blitz the A gaps with the linebackers. I'm not a big fan of Noddy and Saunders drop, but you got to mix it up. You got to keep him off base, and that's how you can get to Aaron Rodgers. When he flushes, you got to chase him, and I think that comes with the more exotic blitz structure. That's what's got to happen in my mind. Adam Doctor, when's Network going to pick you up? Probably never. I'm too ugly for TV, man. What's your thoughts on? Oh wait, no, that's the same question. Wolverine, how are you? Thanks for your donation, bud. This seems like a perfect week to get a trade done. Does Veach make a move next week, or do you think he moves at all? I think he's trying. I think if he can get him down, he'll do it. But I think it's going to come down to the trade deadline for Patrick Peterson, if they even move him. I think really the Cards say that they're standing pat and they want to keep him. That might be true. I mean, you might have to throw something at them to get them to budge, and I just don't know if that's in Veach's repertoire. So we'll find out. I would like to see Pat Peterson on this team. Brasace. I think that's how you say it. Brasace? I don't know. Getting really nervous about Green Bay. What are your thoughts on this game and how the Chiefs win? You gotta execute on offense to keep up with Aaron Rodgers. I think the defense can do a couple of things to slow him down, but you got to be able to execute on offense and keep that up. I want to see him run the ball more and run it better. I think the screen game is going to be important because I think that from what they saw against Denver, I think Green Bay is going to think that they can get their pass rush home. So screen it up. I want to see some push passes in the backfield. Get Tyreek and Hardman loose laterally. I think that will help. There's a lot of things that they can do. So options. Corey Boswell, the production of the defense, more testament to good D. Answered that same kind of thing. I think it was a little bit of everything. Brave Macaroon, I appreciate that. Gary, how does Reed make the running game better? He calls it specifically. Instead of calling RPOs where the quarterback has the option to throw or to run, call runs. Call your bread and butter, the inside-outside zone. I want to see some counters out of this. I want to see Sherman in the backfield or in the H so that you can have a lead blocker. I want to see them get back to some basic football once in a while and just knock the snot out of people and then look for the pass game. And this is a good week to do it because it'll help your quarterback. Jason Callaway, why the Chiefs release McClain before we see anything from him? I thought he gave us some good snaps. Evidently, they felt they had an upgrade. I really don't know. I'll have to take a look once we get more game film on the new guy. Wish I had a better answer for you. Sorry, I just don't know, Jacob. Local Siege, we let Eric Bieniemy call the plays on the offense. Hey, at least for a half, I'm all for it. I'm all for Andy Reid running a 20-play script and handing it over to Bieniemy personally. Do you see any injuries have a timetable, or is everyone day-to-day? Everyone's, kind of hidden. I didn't hear a word about Chris Jones or Eric Fisher today in any of the announcements, so still trying to play it by ear there. So I don't think you're going to see either of them back. You never know. Somebody could walk in, feel great on Wednesday, and get cleared. I don't know. Good question, Nathan. Jose, NECB, we're training if we can't get Peterson. Not that's really available. I understand the desire for Howard. I just don't think he's truly available. So if you're going to have to really make a push for a guy that they don't want to give up, I'd rather go after Peterson. Nathan Roth needs to be a Veach. I know RB isn't a need, but does Veach need to call the Dolphins about Kenyon Drake? No, they got plenty of running backs and more in the stable. They can get Marshall back if they needed to. They got plenty of running backs. It's not even worth the time. No, Aaron, I didn't know you were joking. I can't remember which comment you were talking about. My fault. Jeff Lever, sorry if I missed it. How did Saunders look? Better against the run in particular. He looks a little heavier to me, which I think is helping him against the run. And he's still powerful enough to shut guys in the pass rush. So I don't think he's a guy that's going to take over in pass rush situations from like Ogba or K-Pass. But he's going to give you good reps on first and second down. So I'm comfortable with him. Joel Bennett, they will never trade for Kareem Hunt. They don't want him. Same as Marcus Peters. He's never coming back to Kansas City. The Chiefs do not want either of those guys. Larry, if Moore struggles to move the offense, do you think Reed will give Shermer a chance? I really don't know. It depends how Kyle walks in. I mean, he's been running very, very little reps as a scout team guy, so I don't know. Gary, the Chiefs release Watkins and Hitchens next year for salary cap reasons. Could be. It depends how they come back and perform. If Watkins gets back on the field and really puts out, I could see them keeping him, but I'm not sure. Who's next? Jeff, what's the D-line? Show your hat can carry more. What did the D-line show you that can carry more success? Just the fact that they set the run, and that you can switch them out as groups with Ogba and K-Pass coming in to rush from the inside. I want to see some NASCAR too, where you have one down lineman and everybody else standing up, and they can really move that around. Adam Daughtry, best scenario for Sunday night. They run the ball 60 times and they give Aaron Rodgers 4 possessions. That'd be the best scenario. Nathan Roth, are the Chiefs content with 3 corners? No, they're not. Fuller may be back, though. We don't know. He's rehabbing now. We should know more on Wednesday. Big test. I haven't heard anything. I know they're still interested in Peterson. I haven't heard of them pushing or any new offers or anything like that. So, Marshall Smith, I believe Shaq Thompson is under contract this year, or is on his contract year. Would be a good fit in this defense. He'd be okay. I think you'd overpay for it next year, and so that's why I wouldn't go for it. Somebody's going to overpay him. Nathan Altic, what do you think of the play of Fenton? I think he's doing solid. I think he's going to get more reps, and that will help him. I talked about him earlier if you weren't here, Nathan. Adam, penalties better or worse than last year? I think they're a little bit worse right now, but last game was better, so they're on an upward trend. I think they can get caught up and pull ahead of last season. Scott Meza, is Frank made up for the lack of play over the recent weeks? I wouldn't say 100%, but some. He's still got to improve. Everybody has to improve. I don't care who you are. Tyrann Mathieu has to improve. Everyone has to get better on that defense. Marshall Smith, what's going on with Damian Williams? Lingering knee contusion or attitude? Attitude. I'll tell you that. He likes getting in the end zone. I don't think he likes doing rehab. And quite frankly, I'm a little annoyed that Darrell hasn't gotten more touches. I think he proved while Damian was out that he deserves more touches. So we'll see what happens. Andy Anderson. I haven't gone yet, Andy. I'm going next week. So, yeah. Won't be a Monday night next week, and I'll try to do something from a beach post-game for you guys. We'll see. Might be the next day. Let's see. Yeah, Nathan, I think they do have to blitz. They have to do it cautiously, but they got to disguise it a lot more, too. Jerry Cole, how are you? What do you think about the outcome of the next game? How well do you think Moore will do, considering it's a very wet game? Oh, if it's going to be wet, that probably plays into it for him. If the Chiefs can hold the ball a little bit and keep it away from Rodgers, it's kind of what the teams have been doing to the Chiefs in reverse. Just try to not let them have it that long. It's really what it comes down to. Chris Pete, how are you? Thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. If it were up to you, how long would you sit Mahomes? For me, I'd wait till the bye. I just want him good and rested. It'll let the ankle heal up some as well. I would just take it easy, because I had always figured a loss to the Packers. I hadn't figured on losing to the Colts, so that threw me off a little bit. But I feel like you can take a loss or two and still be okay. Right? It's about chasing the Patriots at this point, and I don't know that I'd sell out the season on Mahomes' body just to catch up to him or try to. That's my thoughts. Ian Connis, how's Thornhill played so far this season? I never see him in any news. Yeah, he's not getting a lot of pub, but he's doing a good job. Things are getting in front of him. You're not seeing long, unbroken streaks unless it's right to the corners where only the corners are responsible. So I think he's making a lot of tackles. I think he's getting better, and I think soon he's going to start making some plays on the ball. Nathan Roth is Shermer on the roster now. He's on the practice squad. So technically not part of the 53. Benjamin Mullally. Oh, hey, thanks for your donation. That was a great one. Do you see the defense stepping up from here on out like they did against Denver? They're obviously feeling some pressure now. Yes, I do feel like they're gonna take what they did in Denver and use it as a stepping stone, because they do have to continue. They do have to get better because they are an essential part. The run game and the defense has to help a new quarterback. It's going to be really, really important. And I think Matthew understands that. I think Frank Clark understands that. I know the linebackers understand that. There are guys lobbying for playing time in there. Reggie Ragland's one of them, I'm sure. And I think that will help. The problem is that Aaron can go, 4 wide. He can definitely play. They're going to play a lot of 11, I'm sure. So that makes it a little bit more difficult to keep 3 linebackers out there. It's kind of a play them where they're not kind of thing. And Aaron Rodgers is really good at that. It's a tall order. So, but I do think the defense will take, that'll help some too. Good question, Benjamin, and thanks for the donation. Metal Rocker X, what are your thoughts on the pressure on Flacco from Frank Clark at Okafor? I think they did well. I think they were more aggressive. Again, it's one thing to have the ability, to have the strength to bull rush bulls, for example. It's another thing to go out there and kick his butt. And I saw more attitude and more aggression from all of the edge rushers, all of the pass rushers. I think that was the bigger difference, not the physical traits, but the mental traits applied to the physical play is really what I thought was the biggest deal. So they can certainly keep that up. It's all on them. Stevie Keys, thoughts on Kelsey's performance so far this year? Has been frustrated a lot of defensive holding, but he has to play with what's being called. What can Andy do to help him? Andy can do what Kelsey is better at. Have other receivers run the short routes and the over-the-top stuff, and give him some time to break that coverage, to break that press, and get loose on crossers. That's what I would do. I would run him deep ins, low crossers, high crossers all day long, because it's going to take him a second or two. He's strong enough to break double coverage. He's strong enough to break press. He just needs a little more time to do it. And then once he does, the crossing patterns allow him to get that arm length separation just by where you put the ball. The question is more accurate enough to deliver where it has to be, because that's what Mahomes is really good at. So a couple of times you see Mahomes miss him, and that's when you see a small bit of inaccuracy from the quarterback. It turns into an incompletion for Kelsey. So it all kind of plays together. Let's see. Keep on scrolling. You guys are asking a ton of great questions tonight. I want to make sure I get them all and I don't scroll too fast, because I think I just did. Dang it. Okay, Jerry. Oh, Jerry, thanks for reminding everyone. Put the question marks before. Jeff Lever, if the draft were tomorrow, what position would you draft for the Chiefs? It's a really good cornerback group. I would not leave the first round without a corner, period. I do not care about anything else. You got to shore up the pass defense. That will help everything else too. Then I come back in the second round and look for an athletic linebacker. There's a couple of them as well. I haven't done a lot of work on this draft class yet. That's usually what I do in bowl season. So I'll give you some more of that. But PFF has some rankings out already. Let's see. Draft Scout has some. Dane Brugler's talking some up. There's a good group of corners. I want 1 or 3 of them. Good question, Jeff. Let's see who's next. Dr. Sanitary. Trying not to get too ahead here, but what would be the first position group? Okay, same question. That's awesome. Good job, you guys. Asking the same question helps me out. Maximo, Chiefs defensive staff probably saw your videos. No wonder they play much better. I appreciate that. I hope that they did. I know some of the media production guys, 65 Toss Power Trap guys. How are you, fellas? I know they watch sometimes, so that's nice. And I'm happy. I'm happy to give whatever my 2 cents are to this staff whenever they ask. So y'all know my number. Brad Gee can get you in touch with me if you want. Nathan Roth, is it dumb for me to be so scared of Derrick Henry and the Titans than Rodgers? No, not after what you've seen this season. They have to prove that Denver was not an anomaly, that they can stop the run like that over and over and over if they put their mind to it. And the Vikings and the Titans are 2 other teams where that game plan makes sense because they do run the ball so well and so often. So no, you are not wrong at all. I'm totally with you, and I think the team is now too. Matt Mitchell, if Denver were willing to make a trade for Wolf or Harris, would you trade for Wolf or Harris? I would take Harris, definitely. I wouldn't give more than a second-round pick for him, though. I don't think he's as effective as he was a couple years ago, and quite frankly, he can get beaten by bigger receivers. We saw some of that. But I love Chris Harris. He's the next Jayhawk, so I'm a little biased, but I love the way that he plays. He's a trash talker. I'll give you that. It doesn't bother me, not at that position. I'm not a Derek Wolfe guy. I've never been that impressed with him, and quite frankly, I don't think he's a positive guy in the locker room. So I want somebody that's going to bring the energy, not really try to be a tough guy. So not my choice. Maximo, would the Chiefs go? Oh, yeah. Okay. Answered that one too. That's awesome. Aaron, you're absolutely right. I'm glad you answered before I did. Thanks. 88 Flexin. Need to run Darrell or even some Darwin over Damien's 1.7 average. I agree. I want Darrell to run more. I would take some Darwin too, but it's not because Damien's average is low. Damien's average is low lately because of the line and the situations where he's been given the ball. That's not on Damien. Damien still has the wheels. He's just been in tough situations. Overall, the line is the reason this run game isn't clicking right now, which is strange because it's over the years, over the Reed administration, it's been very good on a yards per carry average. They need to get back to that. They're allowing too much penetration. They're not getting to the second level very well. That's got to change. And I'm looking at the interior three. Even LDT is not as playing as well as I want him to. So, step it up, boys, and that will change the run game dramatically. And this might be the week that they have to do that in order to protect more. So, hey, more power to them. Let's see what they do. Anthony Boyd. Oh, wait. No, I got 88s. Okay, Anthony Boyd. With more, we need to run play action and short passes like they did with Alex Smith with the quarterback, and we need to run the ball to open up the pass. I would agree with that for the most part. I don't think it has to be short passes. By short, I usually think 7 yards and under. I don't think there's any reason to really tighten it up that much. I'd be looking at the intermediates, the 8 to 15-yard range is what I would be doing. If you're going to throw the ball, you might as well get a first down out of it. That's my thought. So I'm happy to grind out 3 yards a carry, but I want a first down out of passing. So that's where I'm coming from. Denny B, glad you're here. Hope you're doing well. I don't even know what time it is by you. Let's see. You might have touched on this, but the correlation between Ragland and the way the defense played. I think attitude, I think they feed off of aggression, and I think it was a good example. I think he was pissed off after not playing, and I think he wanted to make a point, and I think that helped everybody else come along too. Playing defense is a group mentality. Yeah, you got to win your individual matchups, but playing defense is a team sport. It is a group thing, and I think that helps a lot. So, hey. Let's see if they can keep it up. Scott Meza, will Watkins be back for the Vikings? I certainly hope so. They could use him. I'd love to see him come back this week. I didn't see a thing about him today. We'll see if he practices Wednesday. I don't think they're going to rush it. So, let's see. Adam Daughtry, Theodore and Hampson, does it last till we play? I think they said today that they're aiming at him being back for the Chiefs game. So, I expect to see Thielen and Diggs together. Aaron Morrow, did we just call this a loss and keep people out even if they're ready? I don't. That's not the way this business works. You got to go because a couple of plays can make a difference in any game. Like I said, there's no reason to think that they can't win this. Is it a tough matchup without Mahomes? Certainly. But the ball bounces, and sometimes it bounces your way. So, no, you go to play to win every single game, in my opinion. Alberto, do you see trades of the O-line to protect Mahomes and add depth in the line? I don't see trades. I don't think like Trent Brown's going to or Trent Williams is going to help you. I don't think they're going to give him up. I think they're going to try to ransom him. And quite frankly, the only people worth trading at this point in the season because of how much you have to give up for them are corners, edge rushers, and quarterbacks. That's it. That's all there is. So I don't think they're going to get an offensive line trade done. Scott Meza, does Warden Breland have the work cut out for them against the Packers? It depends. I don't think Adams is going to be back, and I'm not sure if Scantling's even going to be in there, so they might be okay. But again, it's about disguising and getting pressure. Joshua Weddle, you are right. Avery's technically on the diagonal. I think they have a Longmont address, but yeah, they're right between Longmont and Boulder. If you guys haven't been to Avery Brewing is incredible. My number 2 brewery in the state of Colorado, followed very closely behind Odell. Scott Meza. No, I just answered that one. There we go. Aaron Morrow. Are you catching up on work or everything else, spending time with the family, or longer break this weekend? No, we're going on vacation for a big family thing. Big family occasion. 6 families of us. So we're going to be down in the warm weather before it gets really wintry up here. We've already had snow here at my house in Colorado. So, yeah, there's about an inch out there right now, actually. Oh, my day job? Yeah, sure. I'm a data engineer for a Fortune 10 company. I do a lot of analytics on healthcare data. I do a little bit of database work, a lot of analysis of information. So it goes hand in hand with some of this, I guess. I was analytics before there was analytics, put it that way. That's why I do what I do. Let's see. John Coy, what about the O-line draft? Any left tackle possibilities there? There's a couple. And there's a couple mid-rounders, too. I think Trey Adams is probably going to be a low one, maybe a second rounder when it's all said and done out of Washington. I like the way he moves. I haven't seen any of his film from this year. I'm just going off of last season and a little bit of the season before. So he's an option there. They got to get starters done right now. So as far as I'm concerned, this first round pick has to be a cornerback. I don't see another thing that they have to replace. You basically have Ward and Fenton under contract. That's it. Mo, Breland, Fuller are all in contract years. So that tells you a lot. If they get a trade done, that changes things. I will admit that. So that's just where I'm coming from, John. Scott Meza, would Veach trade for Mariota? No. If he did, he'd be insane. Nobody outside is going to learn this offense in time to make any kind of difference. So, and I'm a Mariota guy. I had him number 1 over Jameis coming out. I don't think he's had the support from the offensive minds that he's played for. I think he can rehabilitate his reputation and his performance, but I think it's going to take time. I don't think you can stick him into a complex offense like the Chiefs and ask him to perform. And that may break his confidence. I don't know. So if they were going to do that, if you wanted a solid backup, maybe sign him in the off season. Henny's contract is coming up, I believe, too. So no linemen in the trades. No, Matt, I just wouldn't do it. Jerry, I've heard of something like Chad coming back in. He would stick with Matt over Chad. Yeah, and I would too, just because Henny hasn't done anything. He's been out for so long, rehabbing, injured. He hasn't been running scout offense. He hasn't been doing anything. So it's kind of like, starting a truck cold when it's 10 below. It just doesn't work very well. So even though he may be better suited, they chose him over Moore in the offseason when they worked them both out. I think they would stick with Moore. I think I would too. Andy will stress time of possession. Will Andy stress time of possession against the Packers? That's from Scott Meza. I hope so. But that's not the MO Andy Reid. I just can't expect that he will. That's what I would do. But I think Andy's a little more freewheeling. He wants to move. He wants to move the offense. He'd rather score more points than limit somebody else. Matt Mitchell, good quote. I like that movie too. Oh, Billy Carr, good question. What do you think about Sherman being the third quarterback? I was shocked by that. I thought it would be Kelsey. I'll be real interested to see if one of the reporters asks. In fact, I'll ask Matt to ask him when Reed talks later in the week, just to say, who is it? Because if Sherman gets to throw passes, I'm going to lose it a little bit. I'm just going to warn you guys. Potokwai, mahalo. Anything happens on the trade deadline? I do think something happens. I just don't know if it's going to be the big headline that they want. You might get a lower end corner too. Christopher Skidmore. Is it likely that PM15 plays against Green Bay? No, it is not. It's possible. It is not likely. Okay, Alberto, do you think a second tight end a two tight end formation can help with the O-line run the game and give the Mahomes or any QB some time to throw the ball? It could, but when Andy runs two tight end, both tight ends go out in routes. He doesn't keep them in. I'd almost rather see them either put Anthony back in as a fullback or put him as an H. I'd love to see a two tight end formation with Sherman as an H because you can run out of it or you can pass out of it. We've seen them prove that they can split out Sherman and any of the running backs to wide receiver slots. I would do that in a heartbeat. I would play with the backfield a lot more than Andy does. And I thought Andy got creative. I thought he simplified what he did in the run game, but he got more creative about when he called the runs last week. I hope that he does that again. Aaron, you're right. I am. I don't live in Glenwood Springs. No. I'm much closer. I'm closer to let's see, probably the biggest town. I'm closer to Breckenridge than anywhere else up here in the mountains that you guys might know of. So, I live about 9,500 feet, so I do get snow before everybody else. Should Veach try to trade for Chase Daniel from Aztec Warrior? Chase knows the offense, but with the money that you have in quarterbacks and the draft picks you'd have to get up to get them, it would be insane. And honestly, I don't think Nagy would let him go right now, especially the way Trubisky's playing. Chase could be playing next week, so I don't think Chase is going anywhere. You guys, Nathan Roth. I know you're a fan of Bryce Hall out of Virginia. Yes, he is done for the year. Oh, is it an ACL? I didn't see that. Does he fall far enough for the Chiefs to get him? He very well might. That's exactly what happened with Kendall Fuller as well. I think he fell into the 40s, if I remember right. I'd have to check that. But yes, I am a fan of his. He's one of the few players I've actually looked at so far. I did not realize he got hurt. That will change his draft stock. That makes him a low first-round guy, in my opinion. Wow, that could be very fortunate, assuming that he recovers from the ACL. Thank you for updating me on that. I appreciate it, Nathan. Now I got more stuff to go look at. Aaron Morrow, what do you think of trading for O.J. Howard, eventually be a number 2? I don't think the Bucs would give him up lightly because he's one of the few things that works pretty well out there, and they're going to have to change quarterbacks. So tight ends are a quarterback's friend. I don't know. I don't think he's really worth trading for, but that's just my opinion. Scott Mays, will Fisher make it back after the bye week? I'm confident that he will be back after the bye. I don't know if he'll make it back before then. I think he could, but I just don't know. Haven't seen any updates on his condition. Aaron, I would freak out if Sherman got to play QB. I mean, well, and here's the thing is I'm going to tell you guys about this later in the week. Might as well tell you now. There's a solid option to run some Wildcat out of this offense right now. You can run RPOs with Darrell Williams because he ran the Wildcat at LSU right after Spencer Ware did. And he was effective at it. So there are options on this offense. Sherm at quarterback, Darrell at Wildcat. I mean, I literally could make an offense out of the running backs. I'm just saying. I don't know if Andy will, though. No, Christopher, no news on Fisher and Jones. Nothing official yet. Hopefully we'll get more info on Wednesday when they get back to practice. Yes, Scott Mays, I would run drags. Definitely. Drags and up is what I would do a lot of. Pano, I don't know why the run game's slowed down other than the line is not getting it done. Why they're not getting it done, I don't know. They ran for a 5.8 average last year, and this year it's just not the same, and I'm not sure why. John Coy, no. I'm not trading for any running backs. The run game's important. I like the running backs they got, and no running back's going to be what they'll demand in trade value. Jerry, do you think of the special teams? Do you think they have to step it up? I think they do. I can't tell you what's wrong with them, though. And I don't buy into the, hey, you should never bring it back out from inside the 10. That's what Tobe does. Tobe wants to run everything out because he knows the more cracks he gets at something, the more chance he has to actually make a big play. So I don't have any problem with it, especially when you have Mahomes under center. Not a problem. Let's see. Justin Trova, how are you? It seems like we're getting injured more in the past. Is this something else they should be doing in warm-ups? Not that I know of. I watched their warm-up the other night. It was exactly the same as years past. I think it's just luck. It has a lot to do with how good a shape a guy comes into camp, but I know Andy's camp gets him in shape. So that's not an issue. Their warm-up is the same as it's been. I don't see anything there. I really think it's just luck. Oh, Stevie Keys, it was a broken ankle for Bryce Hall. Okay, that's awesome. That's way better. He might not fall quite as far. We'll see. It'll depend on rehab. Sometimes ankles can have some nerve damage associated with them too, so that's always a concern. You never quite know. But, we're at 55 minutes already, so let's hit the last couple, and we will get out of here, folks. Firefighter Farmer, could Mahomes' return be determined on how well Moore is playing? If Moore really stinks it up against the Packers, it'll put a little more, hey, you think you can get back from Minnesota? I feel like he's going to be ready for Minnesota anyway, just from what I've heard today, so that may be a moot point anyway. Adam Daughtry, with the Patriots cutting up Jets, does it mean that Dallas just sucks? Nah. It's any given Sunday. Any team can win any week. I think I will say this, that I feel like the Patriots have gotten not lucky, but they've had a lot of teams that haven't played well against them, and not just because they're so good. Alberto, Juan Thornhill's improving so much. Do you think he gets to the level of not allowing a big play in the post if the Chiefs make it? Postseason, I assume you mean. I don't know. They're going to attack him in ways. It depends on who they play, but some of the speedier teams are going to try to attack him with some vertical concepts. They're going to run down both seams. That's going to be a tough call. We're going to see what happens. But I agree with you. I think Thornhill's getting better. Let's see. Scott, man, does Andy crack down on McCoy for holding the ball like a loaf of bread? Nope, never has, never will. Did it when he played for Andy before. It's just not a thing that Andy's going to worry about. Honestly, I mean, McCoy doesn't lose the ball that much. So it makes me cringe, but I don't think it's anything they're going to have to make a concerted effort to change. Scott, no, Ian, should the Chiefs sign Winston as a backup if the Bucs don't keep him around after next year? No, I don't. I'm not impressed with James Winston at all. Quite frankly, I don't know that he could grasp the offense. Okay, we're going to end with Pono's question. Does Shermer have any mobility? It looks like Moore belongs in an old folks home. You're not wrong. And Shermer's not much more mobile. They're both more standard stay in the pocket type quarterbacks. And I can understand you seeing that way. And that's why it's going to be about rhythm. It's going to be about protecting him long enough to get the ball out to the intermediate routes. It's going to be 5-step drops. They got to protect him from 5-step drops, and this offense will churn, and it'll be fine. That's really what the bottom line is for me. I will have more later in the week. I'm just going to do some simple ones. I don't even know if I'll film myself this week. I might just do voiceovers on plays. So I'm really pressed for time. I'm flying out in the wee hours at the end of the week. So look for the videos. Spread the word. Looks like people were pretty frustrated. Didn't get a whole lot of views while the Chiefs were losing. So hopefully they're back on a good tear. Appreciate you guys putting in the time and hanging out with me. Spread the word. Thanks for everything that you do. I'll try to have some new gear up for you when I get back as well. So check out these, and I will definitely drink some rum for you there, Scott. And I will do some remotes. Whenever I have signal, I'll try to put something up. So they'll be short and they'll be ugly, but we'll get some videos out. So you guys have a good time. Enjoy the next game or two, and I will be back post Vikings. Have a good one.